A knock like a pistol crack split the silence. Buck Ryder didn't move. The wind hissed through the warped boards of his porch, brushing dust against the windows like dead leaves scratching bone. Another knock, then silence, then soft again. He reached for the old shotgun leaning against the doorframe. His boots thudded once on the floorboards, then the creak of the door. Two kids stood there. The boy looked about 9, face smudged with dirt and sunburn, eyes too old for that age. The girl, smaller, clutched something wrapped in a worn cloth. "Can you adopt our kitten?" the boy asked. Buck stared at them. "Our mom is sick," the girl said. Her voice cracked like dry grass underfoot. She unwrapped the cloth. A scrawny kitten blinked up at him, too thin, one paw wrapped in twine like a bandage. Wind kicked dust across the porch. The boy didn't blink. The girl hugged the kitten tighter. Then Buck saw it. A flash in the boy's eyes, the tilt of his head. He knew them. His throat dried like the basin creek in August. "Where's your mother?" "She told us to come here," the boy said. Said, "If something happened, come to the man in the cabin near the Red Canyon." His voice shook just a breath. The girl looked up with the same eyes Maria used to give him before she left, before she vanished. Buck stepped aside. They hesitated, then shuffled in on bare feet. He closed the door behind them. Inside, the light was dim. One oil lamp burned near the stove, casting long shadows on the cracked walls. A tin pot hissed, water half-boiled, forgotten. "You hurt?" he asked. They shook their heads. The kitten mewed, pitiful and hoarse. He fetched a can of old milk from the shelf and poured it in a saucer. The girl set the kitten down. It wobbled to the edge and drank like it hadn't seen food in days. "Who's chasing you?" Buck asked, still watching the door. "Men from town," the boy said. "They wanted Ma's land." She said no. Then they came back. Buck's jaw twitched. He walked to the window and pushed the curtain aside. Nothing but wind and shadows. "Did they hurt her?" The boy hesitated. The girl's lip trembled. "She told us to run." "So we did." He turned, slowly. The children stood there, two specks of bone and fear, too proud to cry, too stubborn to run any farther. Dust on their faces, scratches on their arms, the kind of hurt that runs deeper than bruises. Buck's fingers brushed the scar above his left brow. An old memory stirred. Maria's voice, soft as creek water. "You ever see kids needing help, you help 'em, Buck. You do that much for me. How long since you ate?" "Yesterday," the boy muttered. Buck opened a drawer, pulled out jerky, dropped it on the table. The kids didn't wait. They chewed like wolves in winter. The kitten curled at the girl's feet, breathing slow. Outside, the wind howled again, longer this time, like a warning. Buck walked to the stove, threw wood on the flame. The room lit gold. His shadow loomed tall against the back wall, thin, crooked, like a scarecrow waiting to rise. "You got names?" he asked. The girl looked to the boy. "I'm Eli," he said. "She's Sadie." Sadie gave a small wave. Buck's voice dropped, quiet as dusk. "She call me Uncle Buck?" Eli nodded. Said if she didn't come back, you'd know what to do. He sat slow in the old rocking chair. The floor creaked beneath him. His fingers drummed once on the armrest. He hadn't been called that in years. Haven't seen Maria in even longer. The air felt thick now, like the desert just before lightning splits the sky. He stood, pulled the shutter tight, checked the rifle leaning near the window. Loaded. He lit a second lantern and hung it by the door. "You're staying here tonight," he said. Eli looked up, unsure. "I ain't a skin boy. Sit still. Rest. I'll take first watch." Sadie leaned against her brother, eyes fluttering shut. The kitten curled on her lap. Buck stepped outside. The porch boards groaned. He lit a roll of tobacco with the tip of the lantern and stood in the wind, watching the long road wind into nothing. Dead Hollow lay 5 miles east, if you call that town living. He'd walked away from it 10 years ago with a bullet in his shoulder and a dead man's name on his back. And yet the past had come knocking, small hands and bigger eyes, asking him to take in a kitten. He took one long drag, then flicked the ember into the dirt. Down in the distance, far off under the moonlight, he saw dust stir on the canyon ridge. Not wind. Riders. He exhaled slow. Time to remember who he used to be. The bell above the saloon door didn't ring when Buck walked in. Someone had cut the rope years ago. The hinges still groaned like something dying. Every head turned. Boots paused mid-step. Cards froze in half-play. A chair creaked, and then nothing, just dust motes hanging in the lamplit hush. Buck didn't stop walking. He crossed the warped floorboards like a ghost come home, coat dragging, revolver riding his hip like it never left. A boy swept the corner nervously, spilling sawdust with every shake of the broom. Behind the bar, Jeb Mercer dropped a glass. Buck set one hand on the counter. Whiskey. Jeb stared like he'd seen a dead man drink. You're supposed to be gone, he muttered. Buck didn't blink. Ain't his skin what I'm supposed to be. Just pour. Jeb fumbled with the bottle. Didn't think you'd ever come back, Buck. Not after what Creed did. Not after you. The saloon doors flapped. 3 men entered, spurs chiming like little bells of warning. Long coats, dust-covered, hands too close to holsters. Buck didn't turn. You bringing ghosts with you? One of them asked. Or would you stir up old graves? Said another. Buck took the glass, sipped once slow. I came for the sheriff. The room tensed like a coiled rattlesnake. One man stepped forward. Creed ain't seen you since the cavalry left your hide full of lead. Thought you died out past the border. Buck finally turned. I did, he said. The man's grin faded. Someone in the corner whispered, That's Buck Ryder. Someone else muttered, The one-eyed gun. The name rolled through the room like thunder. A chair scraped back. A 4th man stood in the shadows by the piano. Long black coat, badge pinned crooked on his chest. He stepped into the light, boots polished, silver spurs glinting. Sheriff Creed. Face smooth as oil, eyes dead as creekstone. Well now, Creed said, spreading his arms. Ain't this something? Buck didn't move. Creed grinned. What brings the desert's favorite ghost back to my little town? Buck set the glass down slow. 2 kids knocked on my door last night. Creed raised an eyebrow. Maria's kids. The grin vanished. Buck's voice dropped, low as thunder behind hills. Said their mama was sick. Said some men wanted her land. Creed's hand drifted near his hip. You calling me a land thief? I ain't calling you anything. Good. I'm saying it out loud. The room bristled. Men shifted, fingers tapping wood. The bartender ducked below the counter. Creed chuckled, humorless. You should have stayed dead, Ryder. You never did know when to leave trouble buried. Buck's eye narrowed. You remember Dry Creek? He asked. You left me bleeding under horse hooves. Thought that'd bury me too. Creed's smile faltered. Just a flicker. Men like you always crawl back, Creed said. Smell of rot, stink of the past. Buck's voice sharpened. Then you know I ain't afraid to dig up the bones. Behind him, chair scraped. Footsteps neared. Buck spun. His coat flared. Guns cleared leather. 2 men hit the ground before the first shout rose. Smoke choked the air. Screams broke loose like cattle through a broken fence. Buck's revolver kicked again. Another man fell, shoulder torn open. Creed ducked behind the piano. Kill him. Boots thundered. Wood splintered. A mirror shattered behind the bar. Buck moved like water cutting stone. No wasted shots. No missed breath. He was quiet, controlled, until the last bullet snapped. Click. He ducked, rolled, reached the man he dropped, rifled his belt, snapped the cylinder open, fed in shells. Someone charged. Buck rose fast, shot once, twice, clean, hard. Only the echo remained. Bodies twitched in blood. The saloon stank of gunpowder and sweat. Chairs burned slow near the stove. Someone whimpered behind the bar. Buck stepped over a man groaning through broken teeth. Creed was gone. Only the wind answered. He holstered his revolvers. Walked to the broken piano. Found the sheriff's hat in the dust. He left it hanging on the horn of a longhorn skull nailed above the door. Outside, the street had emptied. Only horses watched now. He mounted one. Black gelding, nervous. But it listened. Rode slow. Eyes peered from curtain windows. No one spoke. Dead hollow didn't forget. And neither did he. The rifle cracked. A hawk dropped from the sky, wings folding, thudding into the dust near the fence post. Eli flinched. Buck lowered the rifle, smoke curling from the barrel. You keep your eyes steady. Don't blink. Eli nodded, jaw set hard. His hands still trembled. Sadie sat nearby on an old blanket. The kitten curled up on her lap, purring like a drumbeat under her small fingers. She watched her brother like he was trying to impress the sun. Buck reloaded, handed the rifle over. Now you. Eli stepped up to the fence, shouldered the rifle. A tin can waited 50 yards out, swaying in the desert wind. His aim wobbled. Breathe in, Buck said. Hold it. Squeeze. The shot rang out. The can spun, clanged once, and tumbled. Eli stared. Sadie clapped. You hit it. Buck allowed a small nod. You're getting it. The boy smiled, just a flicker, before it vanished again beneath the worry. The wind shifted. Smoke from the chimney curled sideways. Buck glanced toward the ridge. No movement. Not yet. They ate supper by firelight, beans, and silence. The kitten swatted a grasshopper by Sadie's boot. She giggled, soft. Eli picked at his plate. You always live alone? The boy asked. Buck didn't answer right away. Long enough. Eli nodded, as if that explained something. Mama used to say, some people are like rocks. They don't move unless the storm's big enough. Sadie fed the kitten a crumb of cornbread. When did the storm come for you? Eli asked. Buck's stare lingered in the flames. Still passing overhead. Night settled like a heavy coat. Coyotes howled distant, but closer now. Buck checked the windows again. Shuttered tight. He poured water into the tin wash basin and wiped the dust from his face. Sadie curled in a blanket by the fire, the kitten resting in the crook of her arm, both breathing slow. Eli leaned against the wall, trying not to nod off. Buck sat near the door, rifle across his knees, listening to the wind whisper warnings in the chimney. You got people? Eli asked sleepily. Before us. Buck didn't look over. Had a brother once. Rode north. Never came back. Mama said you used to be a soldier. Buck's knuckles whitened. Too long ago to matter. Is that how you knew how to shoot like that? Buck exhaled. That's how I knew what not to shoot at. Silence again. Eli's voice was barely a murmur now. Why'd she tell us to come to you? Buck turned his head, slow. The firelight flickered across his face, casting old scars into deeper shadow. Because your mama's smarter than most, he said. She knew the world don't look kindly on folks who say no to men with money. She knew Dead Hollows got rot under its skin, and she knew I owed her more than I could ever repay. Eli blinked slow, eyes heavy. Did you love her? He whispered. Buck's gaze drifted to Sadie, sleeping with the kitten in her arms, peaceful despite the world. He didn't answer. The wind picked up. Boots crunched outside. Buck was on his feet before the sound finished. He slid to the window, lifted the corner of the curtain. Shadows shifted along the edge of the clearing. 3 riders. Lanterns low. Voices hushed. He stepped back. Eli was already reaching for the rifle. No, Buck said. You stay with your sister. But I said stay. Buck grabbed his revolvers. Belt fastened. Coat thrown over his shoulders. He paused once, touched the kitten's soft head, then slipped out the back door like smoke. He moved fast along the edge of the barn. Moonlight cut through the slats. The wind tugged at his coat, like it wanted him to turn back. He didn't. The riders were already dismounting. One man pissed in the grass. Another unhitched a shotgun. Buck stepped from the shadows. Evening, boys. They froze. The lantern tilted, revealing faces he remembered. Ranch hands from Creed's circle. One had a scar across his nose. Another broken teeth. Buck Ryder once said, Didn't reckon you'd be fool enough to show yourself. Reckon you ain't smart enough to stay off my land. We just came for the kids, the scarred man said. Ain't gotta be bloodshed. Buck's voice was low. There's already been blood. You just ain't seen yours yet. The man with the shotgun raised it. Buck moved first. 2 shots cracked like thunder. Both hit true. The third man stumbled back, dropped his weapon, ran toward the horses. Buck let him go. Silence returned like a door slamming shut. The lantern rocked on the ground, casting swinging shadows across the bodies. Buck picked it up, wiped the blood from his sleeve. When he stepped back inside, Eli was on his feet, rifle in shaking hands. Sadie blinked awake. Are they gone? She asked. Buck nodded. For now. Eli lowered the rifle. His voice was quiet. They'll send more. Buck looked down at the kitten, now curled up on Sadie's chest again. Yeah, he said. They will. He walked to the fireplace, sat down, and threw another log on the flames. We'll be ready. Sadie yawned. Can we keep the kitten? Buck looked at her, then at the tiny ball of fur, then back to the fire. The kitten stays, he said. Hooves pounded the dry earth like war drums. Dust spiraled behind Buck as he rode, coat snapping in the wind, rifle strapped across his back, revolvers at his sides. The town rose ahead through the morning heat, dead hollow, quiet as a graveyard under a dead sky. The church bell didn't ring. It never did, not since the last preacher vanished with Creed's coin. He reined his horse at the edge of Main Street. Doors slammed. Curtains twitched. Men stepped back from their porches like they'd seen thunder walking. At the far end of the street stood Sheriff Creed. Black coat clean, spurs polished, 10 men behind him, rifles resting across their chests like vipers in the sun. Creed tipped his hat. "You sure about this, Ryder?" Buck dismounted. Dust rose around his boots. "I buried 6 of your boys 2 nights back," he said. "Want me to keep count? Or are you doing the math yourself?" Creed's grin didn't reach his eyes. "You always did have a mouth. You always did have too many men doing your fighting." The wind picked up. A shutter banged somewhere. The townsfolk stayed hidden, but Buck could feel their eyes, behind the saloon windows, through the gaps in barn slats, between the boards of porches too tired to stand straight. He walked forward. Creed's men shifted. Buck's voice carried like gravel across the dust. "You sent boys to a woman's land. To take it. You knew she was sick. You sent men anyway." Creed shrugged. "That land's worth more than her lungs. She trusted me with her kids. Then she's more foolish than I thought." Buck's hand moved, not to his gun, to his chest. He pulled back the lapel of his coat. Beneath it hung a silver cavalry tag, tarnished, dented, engraved with 3 letters, USC. "War didn't kill me," Buck said. "You just gave it a second chance." Creed's hand twitched. Buck saw it. "You sure you want to do this in front of child?" Creed asked. A small voice rang out from behind the water trough. "She's watching already." Sadie stepped into the open, Kitten in her arms. Eli followed, rifle tight in both hands. Behind them, townsfolk began to appear, one by one, silent but watching. Creed's eyes narrowed. "Get those brats out of here," he barked. No one moved. Buck's steps didn't slow. 10 paces now. 5. Dust clung to his boots. His revolvers hung low and waiting. Creed drew first. The sky didn't even flinch. Buck's hand moved like lightning in a bottle. One shot, clean, drove Creed's pistol from his grip. It spun into the dirt. Another shot dropped the first of Creed's men. The street erupted. Gunfire cracked like thunder across canyon walls. Men dove. Horses screamed. Dust swallowed everything. Buck moved through it like a storm, silent, deadly, unstoppable. 2 men fell before they fired. Another tried to run and caught a bullet in the thigh. Creed scrambled to the saloon, dragging himself behind a barrel, blood trailing from his wrist. Buck reloaded in stride. He found Creed alone, wheezing, crawling like a snake toward his fallen gun. Buck stepped on it. Creed froze. "You always thought you could buy fear," Buck said. Creed looked up, face twisted. "What are you going to do? Kill me in the street? You already buried yourself." He turned, walked away. A click. Creed had another pistol hidden beneath his coat. The kitten leapt. Claws raked Creed's face. He screamed, fire wild. The bullet struck the saloon door frame. Buck spun. One final shot. Creed hit the ground hard, hand twitching once before stilling forever. Silence reclaimed the street. Buck stood alone in the middle of town, gun smoking, coat whipping in the wind. Sadie ran to him. Eli followed. The townsfolk crept from hiding, quiet, unsure. Buck turned to them. No more bought sheriffs. No more stolen land. Dead hollows done talking orders from cowards. No one answered. But one by one, hats came off. Heads bowed. Eyes watched with something like hope. Later, Buck sat on the church steps, sharpening a knife. Sadie braided string into a collar for the kitten. Eli polished the rifle with a quiet pride. The town had already started changing. Creed's men scattered. His name scraped off the jailhouse wall. Jeb poured drinks for free that night. Said it was the first time his hands didn't shake. Buck leaned back, watching the sun bleed behind the canyons. Sadie crawled into his lap, Kitten in her arms. "Do we go home now?" Buck shook his head. "You are home.